Welcome back to Lpbw Update, where we dig deeper than the cameras ever dare to go. If you thought the farm negotiation drama was the peak of the hostility between Amy Roloff and the Matt and Caryn alliance, you need to brace yourself. We are receiving terrifying insider reports that suggest the feud has escalated from verbal spars in the farmhouse kitchen to high-tech, targeted surveillance that borders on criminal harassment. This is not a drill, and this is not a storyline made up by TLC editors. We are talking about a real-life invasion of privacy that has allegedly left Amy looking over her shoulder in her own backyard. Let's get right into the disturbing details that are surfacing from Hillsborough. You know, Amy and Chris have been trying to build their new life away from the chaos of Roloff Farms. They wanted peace. They wanted distance. But according to new theories circulating among those close to the family, distance is exactly what someone, allegedly Caryn Chandler, refused to give them. It started with a sound, a low-level, persistent buzzing. At first, Amy reportedly brushed it off as farm equipment or maybe a neighbor doing some aerial photography. We all know the area is scenic. Drones are not uncommon. But sources suggest that this wasn't a one-time occurrence. This was a pattern. Imagine sitting on your back patio trying to enjoy a private barbecue with your new husband, finally feeling safe after the tumultuous divorce and the heartbreaking sale of your share of the farm, only to look up and see a mechanical eye hovering just above the tree line, facing directly into your private sanctuary. Insider whispers suggest that for weeks, Amy felt an unshakable sense of paranoia. She felt watched. And we aren't talking about the reality TV cameras that she signed up for. This was different. This felt predatory. The reports coming in imply that this drone wasn't capturing landscape shots of pumpkins. It was lingering over private conversations, hovering near windows, and tracking movement. The question everyone is asking is why? Why would anyone target Amy now? This brings us to the most explosive theory we have ever covered on this channel. We have reason to believe, based on connecting several dots regarding the farm's strict NDA agreements and recent lease violation rumors, that this surveillance operation was authorized by someone inside the big house. The prevailing theory is that Caryn Chandler, desperate to solidify her control over the Roloff empire, and perhaps fearing that Amy still holds too much public sway, allegedly authorized a surveillance budget to dig up dirt. Think about the timing. Matt and Caryn have been under immense pressure. The sale of the farm didn't go as planned. The family dynamic is shattered. The narrative is slipping away from them. What is the one thing that could silence Amy for good? Proof. Proof that she is violating a non-disclosure agreement. Proof that she is trashing the brand in private conversations. Proof that could be used to legally ban her from the property forever. We are looking at a potential scenario where a private investigator was hired, not to follow a cheating spouse, but to stalk a grandmother who just wants to move on with her life. The motive here is chilling. If these theories hold water, it means Caryn isn't just the other woman anymore. She is the architect of a campaign to destroy Amy's peace of mind. Let's dive deeper into the psychology here. Why go to such extremes? Sources speculate that Caryn feels threatened by Amy's continued presence and popularity. Even though Amy moved off the main farm, she is the heart of the show. She is the one the fans rally behind. There is a deep-seated insecurity there. If they could catch Amy slipping up, maybe bad-mouthing Matt's safety protocols or revealing financial secrets to Chris in what she thought was a private moment, they would have the ammunition they need to file a lawsuit so massive it would bury her. The paranoia described by insiders paints a heartbreaking picture. Amy, who has spent her life living openly, supposedly began closing her blinds in the middle of the day. She stopped having deep conversations outside. The buzzing sound became a trigger for anxiety. She reportedly told Chris that she felt like a prisoner in her own home, a home she bought to escape this exact toxicity. But here is where the story takes a turn, and why we believe this is about to blow up in a way TLC never expected. Amy isn't alone anymore. She has Merrick. And Chris isn't part of the Roloff drama machine. He is a man who values security and logic. He reportedly noticed the pattern before Amy fully accepted what was happening. He didn't see a toy, he saw a threat. We are hearing that Chris began tracking the flight times. He noticed the drone appeared specifically when they were discussing farm business or when they had guests over. This wasn't a hobbyist. This was a scheduled surveillance run. The sophistication of the device, described as a high-end model capable of long-range transmission and high-definition audio capture, suggests professional involvement. This wasn't a neighbor kid. This was a tool used by pros. The tension in the household must have been unbearable. Imagine the violation. You are in your backyard, maybe having a glass of wine, discussing the kids, discussing the future, and realize that everything you say might be recorded and played back in a lawyer's office to strip you of your rights. It is strictly illegal in Oregon to record private conversations without consent, but if you are dealing with people who believe they are above the law, does that stop them? The theory we are developing here at Lpbw Update is that Caryn and potentially Matt, though some sources suggest Matt might be kept in the dark about the specifics, were looking for a silver bullet. They wanted a reason to serve Amy with a cease and desist so severe that she wouldn't even be able to visit the portion of the farm she is still allowed on. They wanted to erase her. But they underestimated Chris Merrick. Reports indicate that Chris decided enough was enough. He wasn't going to let his wife live in fear. He began to strategize. If there is a drone, there is an operator. And if there is an operator, they have to be close enough to control the device. The signal range is finite. Chris realized that whoever was flying this thing wasn't miles away. They were likely on the perimeter of the property, or perhaps, and this is the most shocking part of the theory, they were operating directly from Roloff Farm's land. The audacity of it. Using the farm, the place Amy built, the place she raised her children, as a base of operations to spy on her new life. It is a level of betrayal that is hard to comprehend. But when you look at the history, when you look at how the farm negotiation went down, is it really that surprising? The lease violations Caryn was hunting for were likely fabricated or exaggerated concerns, a desperate attempt to find a loophole to cut Amy off. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of information were they hoping to capture? Were they hoping to catch Amy criticizing Caryn? Were they hoping to catch her revealing production secrets? Or were they simply trying to intimidate her? Psychological warfare is a real tactic in high-stakes divorces and business separations. By letting Amy know she was being watched, by making sure she heard that buzzing noise, they were sending a message. We are still here. We are still watching. You are never truly free of us. But the tide is turning. The reports we are getting about the next phase of this saga suggest that the hunter is about to become the hunted. Chris Merrick didn't just close the blinds, he prepared a countermove. We are hearing whispers of a trap being set, a calculated effort to catch the spy in the act. The atmosphere is thick with tension. This isn't just reality TV drama, this is real-life legal jeopardy. If Caryn is behind this, and if she hired a private investigator to illegally record Amy, she isn't just looking at a bad edit on TV, she is looking at criminal charges. As we move into this deep dive, keep this in mind. The drone footage exists, someone has it, and if Chris Merrick managed to get his hands on it, or if he managed to track down the person holding the controller, the fallout will destroy the fragile piece of the Roloff family forever. We are standing on the precipice of the biggest scandal in the history of Little People, Big World. The paranoia was justified, the threat was real, and the motive was pure, unfiltered malice disguised as protecting the business. We are now entering the most volatile chapter of this unfolding saga. If the paranoia was the smoke, what happens next is the fire. We left off with Chris Merrick deciding to draw a line in the sand. He wasn't going to let Amy live in a state of constant anxiety, looking up at the sky in fear. According to our sources, Chris devised a plan that was tactical, precise, and absolutely devastating for the opposition. This is where the story shifts from a family dispute to a full-blown surveillance thriller. The theory goes that Chris realized the drone had a limited battery life. It couldn't hover forever. Eventually, it had to return to base to recharge and offload its data. Chris allegedly began mapping the flight path, noting the exact trajectory the device took every time it retreated. It didn't fly off toward the highway. It didn't fly toward the neighbor's fields. Every single time, the drone banked sharply left and headed straight for the heart of Roloff Farms. This was the confirmation they needed, but they needed proof. Visually documenting the drone in the air wasn't enough. They needed to see who was holding the controller. We are hearing reports that Chris set a trap. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, knowing the surveillance pattern, Amy and Chris staged a conversation in the backyard. They made it look like a serious, heated discussion, perfect bait for anyone looking for dirt. Just as predicted, the familiar buzzing sound drifted over the tree line. The spy was watching. But this time, Chris was ready. Instead of staying put, he reportedly slipped away, moving through the wooded perimeter that separates their property from the main farm. He had his own camera ready. He wasn't there to confront, he was there to document. As the drone's battery indicator likely started flashing, the operator initiated the return sequence. Chris followed. What he allegedly captured next is the footage that threatens to shatter the Roloff legacy permanently. The drone didn't land in a field. It didn't land in the parking lot. Insider leaks suggest that Chris tracked the device all the way to the porch of the big house, the very seat of Matt Roloff's empire. But it wasn't Matt holding the controls. This is the moment that changes everything. Sources claim Chris's long-lens camera picked up a man believed to be a private investigator standing in the shadows of the deck. But he wasn't alone. The door to the big house opened, and out walked a figure that insiders identify as Caryn Chandler. Let that sink in for a second. We aren't talking about a faceless employee. We are talking about the woman who is effectively running the farm operations, allegedly meeting a private investigator to collect digital surveillance of her boyfriend's ex-wife. The footage reportedly shows the investigator removing the SD card from the drone and handing it directly to Caryn. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look confused. She reportedly took the card, pocketed it, and exchanged a few words with the operator before retreating back inside the safety of the house. If this footage is released, it is game over. It proves premeditation. It proves intent. It proves that the lease violations narrative was a constructed hit job fueled by illegal espionage. Chris Merrick, the man they likely underestimated as just a quiet observer, had just counter-surveilled the surveillance. He had the hunter in his sights. Chris returned to Amy with the evidence, and the mood in their home shifted from fear to righteous fury. Amy saw the footage. She saw the woman who had already caused so much pain in her life holding the literal recordings of her private moments. The betrayal was absolute. But now they had leverage. This moves us immediately into the legal hammer that is about to drop. We consulted with legal experts regarding Oregon's privacy statutes to understand the gravity of what Caryn and this investigator allegedly did. Oregon law is tricky, but there is a clear expectation of privacy in one's own home and backyard. Recording audio of private conversations without the consent of at least one party involved can be a felony. If that drone was capturing audio, and remember, sources say it was a high-end model capable of eavesdropping, this isn't just a civil dispute. This is criminal. Amy's legal team was reportedly contacted immediately. We are told they are drafting a massive invasion of privacy lawsuit that names not just the private investigator, but Caryn Chandler and potentially Matt Roloff as well. The argument is simple. You cannot hide behind a surveillance budget or property management to stalk a woman in her own sanctuary. The lawyers are allegedly calling this predatory intrusion. They are arguing that the intent was to inflict emotional distress and to manufacture grounds for a lawsuit against Amy. It is a conspiracy to defame and harass. The damages Amy could seek are astronomical. We are talking about emotional distress, punitive damages, and a complete injunction against the farm operations. Imagine the panic inside the big house when they realized they had been caught. We are hearing rumors of frantic meetings between Matt and Caryn. If Matt didn't know the extent of the spying, he certainly knows now. He is a businessman first and foremost. He knows that if a judge sees footage of his girlfriend, accepting spy tapes of the mother of his children, the farm's reputation is incinerated. The pumpkin season, the tours, the wholesome family brand, it all evaporates. Caryn is allegedly terrified. The narrative she has tried to curate, that she is just the supportive partner trying to keep the peace, is crumbling. This exclusive theory suggests she went too far, driven by jealousy or insecurity, and now she has handed Amy the ultimate weapon. But it gets even more complicated. The lawyer's strategy isn't just about money, it is about control. Amy holds the cards. She has the footage of the handoff. She has proof of harassment. She can go to the police, or she can go to the press, or she can force a settlement that gives her exactly what she wants. This brings us to the brink of a total war. Amy isn't just defending herself anymore. She is going on the offensive. The buzz in Hillsborough is that Amy is preparing to demand a permanent, legally binding boundary agreement. She wants Caryn banned from coming anywhere near her property. Not just a polite request, but a restraining order level mandate. The stakes have never been higher. We are waiting for the official filing, but the whispers are getting louder. The drone stalker incident has ripped the mask off the polite fiction of the Roloff post-divorce relationship. There is no co-parenting harmony here. There is only surveillance, secrets, and a desperate scramble to hide the truth before it hits the tabloids. Merrick is the hero of this hour. He didn't escalate with violence, he escalated with intelligence. He caught them red-handed. And now, Caryn has to answer the question, was the dirt worth the destruction of her reputation? As we prepare to look at the resolution of this crisis, ask yourself, what would you do if you caught your ex's partner spying on you? Would you call the cops? Or would you make a deal? Amy Roloff faces that choice right now, and the decision she makes will dictate the future of the farm and the show. Do not go anywhere, because in the final part of this report, we are going to reveal the victory condition. We have details on the secret settlement that kept the police away, the humiliating apology Caryn was allegedly forced to make, and the new ironclad agreement that ensures Amy never hears that buzzing sound again. You need to hear how this ends. The victory was sweet, but the cost was high. Stay with us. We have arrived at the final, explosive conclusion of the drone stalker saga. The evidence was secured, the trap was sprung, and the legal threats were looming over Roloff Farms like a storm cloud. What happened next, according to our exclusive sources, was a behind-the-scenes negotiation so intense that it fundamentally altered the power dynamic of the entire family. When Amy's lawyer allegedly presented the invasion of privacy draft to Matt Roloff's legal team, accompanied by a still image of Caryn holding that SD card, the reaction was instant panic. We are hearing that Matt Roloff was absolutely blindsided. While he may have known about general surveillance for farm security, insiders suggest he had no idea Caryn had allegedly authorized a targeted campaign against Amy's private residence. Matt is a lot of things, but he is a businessman first. He immediately recognized that this wasn't just a family squabble, this was a PR nuclear bomb. If that footage leaked to the press, or worse, if the police were formally involved, the investigation could shut down the farm's operations and destroy the brand he spent decades building. This is where the victory comes in, and it is sweeter than anyone anticipated. To avoid police involvement in a public trial that would humiliate everyone, Matt reportedly stepped in to broker a deal. He had to choose between protecting Caryn's ego and protecting his legacy. He chose the legacy. We are hearing details of a secret, ironclad settlement, a permanent boundary agreement. This isn't just a handshake deal. This is a legal contract with severe financial penalties. The terms, as leaked by our sources, are humiliating for Caryn. First, there is a strict 500-foot no-go zone established around Amy's property line. Caryn is legally forbidden from stepping foot near Amy's home or the specific portion of the farm Amy visits, unless explicitly invited. Second, and this is the kicker, there is a total ban on surveillance. No drones, no long-lens cameras, no private investigators. If Caryn is caught hiring third-party surveillance again, the contract reportedly stipulates an immediate, massive financial payout to Amy, effectively acting as a self-executing restraining order. But Amy wanted more than just distance. She wanted accountability. The most satisfying part of this theory is the apology. Sources claim that as part of the settlement to keep the drone footage buried, Caryn was forced to issue a formal, written statement to Amy. While it likely won't ever be made public due to NDAs, the mere existence of this document is a triumph. It is an admission that she crossed the line. It is an admission that she was the aggressor. For Amy, holding that piece of paper was the closure she needed. She didn't need to ruin Caryn publicly to win. She just needed to know that she had forced the bully to back down. The buzzing sound has stopped. The sky above Amy and Chris's backyard is clear. They have reclaimed their sanctuary. Chris Merrick's quick thinking and protective instincts turned a nightmare into a definitive win. He proved that he isn't just a passive participant in this reality TV circus. He is Amy's shield. The psychological weight has lifted. Amy is reportedly back to hosting her barbecues, back to laughing in her garden, and back to living her life without looking over her shoulder. She regained her peace of mind, not by running away, but by standing her ground. However, we have to end on a note of caution. While the ink is dry on the agreement, the resentment is likely at an all-time high. Caryn has been embarrassed. Her power play failed spectacularly. In the world of little people, big world, peace is often just a ceasefire before the next battle. We are hearing whispers that while the drones are grounded, the emotional warfare is far from over. Caryn is now playing defense, knowing that Amy holds the ultimate trump card, the evidence of the stalking. The dynamic has shifted. Amy is no longer the victim. She is the one holding the leverage. This entire situation exposes the dark underbelly of what happens when reality TV fame mixes with real-life obsession. It is a cautionary tale about boundaries, privacy, and the lengths some people will go to when they feel threatened. Amy stood up to the harassment, and she won. But the question remains, how long can this fragile truce last before Caryn tries to find another way to push Amy out? This is scary stuff, folks. Using drones to spy on your boyfriend's ex-wife? That is not just drama. That is obsession. That is dangerous behavior that crosses every line of decency. If you believe Amy deserves to live in peace without being stalked by high-tech surveillance, you need to make your voice heard right now. Subscribe to the channel if you stand with Amy against this harassment. Hit that like button if you think Chris Merrick is the hero of the year for catching them in the act. And I want you to go to the comments section and write Team Amy to show the Roloffs that we are watching and we know the truth about what really happened in that backyard. We will keep digging, we will keep listening to the insiders, and we will bring you the updates that they try to hide. Until next time, stay safe, watch the skies, and thanks for watching Lpbw Update.